What's up, peeps? It's been a hot minute since I've posted a video, and today I'm back with a kinda weird but fun project. I'm breaking down my moving boxes and building furniture out of cardboard. We don't have a medicine cabinet or a closet in our bathroom in this rental, so I'm making a cabinet for free. Will it fall apart? Stick around to find out, 'cause we're getting started right meow. I cut down the cardboard off camera, and if you do this project, your measurements will likely be different from mine, so I'm not including any of that here. For mine, I measured the toilet and the size of height, depth, and width that I would need in my personal space. Then I used the full panel of the box top and bottom flaps and doubled them up. I marked everything for placement depending which part of the cabinet that it was going to become. Then with my Gorilla wood glue, I sandwiched the two pieces together. I used masking tape on all of the edges to seal and clamp. Then I added weight to the top and I left it to dry. Because I was creating the back out of separate sections, I wanted some extra support at the seam. So I cut the points off of some wood skewers, created a divot in a third layer of corrugated cardboard, and I embedded the skewer. I repeated this for all 5 skewers. With all 5 ready to go, I glued them in place. I weighted them down and I left them to dry. That took longer than I'm used to because now I live in one of the more humid environments in the US, but a little more on that in a little bit. With my improvised biscuits firmly glued into place, I prepped the back panels so I could add that bracing panel. That meant cutting divots for the skewers, removing that tape, and gluing the panel in place. Again, I weighted it down and left it to dry. When that center section dried, I cut down pieces for either side of it. That let me level things off and create extra rigidity for the back. Again, I used my Gorilla wood glue, weight, and time for everything to dry. And I doubled up on the tape here to make sure that everything stayed secure. Then finally, with everything glued, clamped, taped, and ready to go, I could assemble this cabinet. I'm using hot glue to attach the sides and the other pieces to the back. In fact, I went and got myself a brand new hot glue gun that takes the longer glue sticks, and that was a super smart move because I didn't need to refill the sticks as quickly. That made putting it together go a lot faster and easier. I made sure to use my speed square to keep everything lined up at a 90-degree angle, which you can see me do in this clip where I'm attaching the right side. Then I added the top and I made sure to leave a slight overhang, which I'm going to get to in a second why I left that extra. To make sure this thing looks and functions like a real cabinet, I cut pieces down for a face frame. And I glued those up the same way as the other double thickness pieces. Once I had the side pieces of the face frame ready to go, I taped them in place on the side. Then I attached them to the front using hot glue. I made sure to keep things as level and plumb as possible. Then I repeated all of that for the top face frame piece. And I made sure to remove excess hot glue squeeze out before it dried. Now this is where that overhang comes into play from the top. Isn't it starting to look like a real cabinet now? Then I glued up the two thicknesses for the doors, but I didn't tape the edges yet because I'm gonna need to add some bits and resize these later, so I just left them rough cut and then I left them to dry. Yep, I was just going to turn on the camera and realized I forgot to film this entire part, so I cut this smaller piece to go on the left side door, or the right side door? No, the left side door. And that'll be on the inside, so it will cover the gap where this is gonna be. And I just glued it up, and now I'm just weighing it down. I'll let that dry, and then I can finish taping up the door, and then once that's done, I'm ready for decoupage. But I realized I wasn't quite ready for decoupage just yet. With everything dry enough to move forward, I used more masking tape to seal up all the edges and corners on the doors. In order to raise this cabinet up a bit off of the toilet tank, I created a base that will sit on the toilet tank. And I did all the same steps with glue, hot glue, and tape. Then I used a mix of wood glue and hot glue to attach this base to the bottom of the cabinet. Then I was ready to start decoupage. And once again, I'm using on-hand materials for this step. In fact, this is the packing paper we used to wrap up our breakables for our move. I have a ton of this on hand, and if you've been here a while, then you know I love free. So I ripped this paper into strips, and using some Mod Podge matte, I added that craft paper layer to everything. The two doors took me about an hour to finish. In fact, the whole cabinet took about 3 hours, but I've greatly condensed that process for all of you, so I hope you enjoy.
The brown boxes in the living room. My life is in a never-ending state of that old transition. Piled up high in the corner of the kitchen, and I'm itching just to find a little bit of unpacked nutrition. All this crap I've accumulated, and I've waited for a place that's big enough to fit it into. Onward, upward, running with a new herd. Too small U-Haul, gotta get it transferred. Packing and I'm stacking and I'm making all my crap fit. Gotta shove it all into the brown boxes. I got 25 pounds of long grain rice and the cereal I bought when I was in California. Don't try to lift that box over there, it's full of old magazines, I just thought I'd warn ya. Onward, upward, running with a new herd. Too small U-Haul, gotta get it transferred. Packing and I'm stacking and I'm making all my crap fit. Gotta fit it all into the brown boxes. I got pants I ain't seen since 6 sizes back. I got piles of unmatched socks, and so I'll throw them on the stack. I got boxes that were not unpacked since the last time that I moved, in fact. And they're probably never gonna see the light of day. No, they're probably never gonna see the light of day. I should just have a garage sale. Maybe I should live a life of simpler existence. But you never know when you'll need this stuff, so I always take a path of least resistance. Cause a new place got a lot of room in the garage, and I sure hate to unpack. I think I might just save some time and leave all of it stacked in brown boxes. In brown boxes.
Then I moved on to the inside of the cabinet. I needed to create some bracing for the shelf that I planned to add, so I used the box top cutoffs and I cut down for triple thickness so that I could use that for the bracing. Then things had to get a little interesting. I had to make sure these pieces would be level, and of course they aren't exactly the same size and shape because they're hand done. So I taped my tile level to the 2 back brace pieces. Then I taped those pieces in place to the back of the cabinet. I made sure everything was level, and with that holding well enough, I used hot glue to spot attach the bottom edge of both of those bracing pieces to the cabinet. I left the entire thing to fully dry before removing the tape and the level. Then I got those two bracing pieces permanently attached with wood glue. Again, I left it to dry before turning to the front brace piece. Alright, so I could get this thing level. I just put in the little front bracing piece, but this is just temporary. I just have it held on with some masking tape for the moment. I just wanted to make sure I could get the shelf level, because now that it is, I can add the side bracing pieces that I'm going to do under the shelf on both sides. And I'm just going to dot in hot glue again and then do some wood glue on the back. Then I'm going to leave those to dry. I got to clamp them up. I'll leave them to dry probably overnight, and then I'll get this finalized, and then the shelf will be free floating, but it still will be trapped in pretty nicely. It'll be harder to actually take it out if I wanted to, so that's going to be good. Then I could start the decoupage on the inside. I made sure to keep as crisp an edge as possible on the top part of these bracing pieces so that I didn't go off level. And I finished all of this up off camera. Once that decoupage layer dried, it was time to add the joint compound. Again, I had this on hand, so it didn't cost me anything extra. I like to add a layer of compound or plaster so that I can create as flat a surface as possible. And also, if there were any gaps or holes after I finish the decoupage layer, this will seal all of that up. I did the first coat, let things dry, and then I did a second coat on everything, but I did that off camera. In between coats, and then again after coat 2, I did a light sanding over everything with a 220 grit to smooth it out and remove any chunkers. I did that out in the garage, but I just don't have the same workshop space that I used to have in Phoenix, so to keep the dust to a minimum, I vacuumed as I went. Once I was done sanding and vacuuming, I wiped everything down with a very slightly damp rag, then I brought it back inside to dry. If you've been here for a while, then you saw me use this Franken-paint on the interior doors in my old house in Phoenix. This is a mix of many types of paint, from latex to chalk, and it's a perfect base color for faux wood grain. I got 2 solid and pretty thick coats applied, and that took way longer than I'm used to. Back in Phoenix, I could have done the decoupage, the compound, and both paint coats in literally one day. The dry time there was crazy fast because it's just crazy dry. Plus, if it needed speeding up even more than that, I'd just place the piece in the sun for a while and voila, dry. But here in New York, things are so humid, especially now in these summer months where we're getting pop-up thunderstorms like every day. I'm trying to figure out a way that I can reconfigure my schedule so that I can work on multiple projects at the same time, because I left this to dry for a full 24 hours before I could move on. And then I could finally get to my favorite part, the faux wood grain. I used my favorite Faux Effects stain and seal in natural cherry and a slightly distressed 1.5 inch angled purdy brush to create a single process faux wood grain on everything. And I started here with the doors. I left that coat of faux to dry overnight before I flipped everything over to do the alternate side on the doors, shelf, and cabinet itself. Then I let things dry and cure for a full weekend before adding 2 coats of polyacrylic matte finish top coat to the entire piece. Again, coating one side, waiting a few hours for it to dry, flipping over, and then letting it dry overnight. Then all I had left to do was add the hardware. I had a ton of fun building this furniture out of cardboard, and I have plenty left to create a few more pieces for around our house. Since we're in this rental for the next couple of years, I think this will be a fun way to get some custom furniture, and I can use these as templates if I ever want to create this furniture out of wood. Since we don't know what the layout is going to be for our long-term home, I won't have to stress about spending money to fill this space and then that space. In fact, I have ideas for a coffee table, a console table, and maybe even some shoe storage for our bedroom. Let me know if you'd like to see any of those projects, and I'll share them either here or over on my second channel, Cactus Crafts, which I will link below. But that's all I've got for this one. Make sure you stick around for the beauty shots, and don't forget to leave me questions or comments below to let me know what you think of this cabinet. Thanks for being here and watching, everyone. Later, peeps!